It's okay for a man to be vulnerable. And I got this question from a young man, 16 years old. I think it's really important to understand that as men, we are going to have emotions, but it's not whether or not we have emotions, it's how we handle and express those emotions, and also the difference between repression and expression and handling your emotions, or dealing with your emotions, mastering your emotions, if you will. I'm John from Bulldog Mindset, and on this channel, I teach you how to be a man. I teach you how to build financial independence for yourself, how to get the physique you want, how to get the girls that you want, and how to go from the victim mindset to what I call the Bulldog Mindset. Hey John, I have a question. I'm 16 years old, and I've been focusing on becoming more in touch with myself emotionally. I was told from a young age that men weren't allowed to have feelings or express emotions, aka being vulnerable. He says, depressing and hiding my emotions led me into depression and the victim mindset. But when I started becoming more in touch with my emotion and expressing them for the sake of being myself and not validation, I found I was able to connect with people better. So my question is it wrong for men to be vulnerable, or is it a sign of confidence that I be comfortable with vulnerability? Emotions are things that you cannot directly control when they happen to you. Through a change in mindset, a change in your nature, a change in how you perceive the world, you can change whether or not you feel those emotions in the first place. If you feel fear, it's not like you had a choice. It's not like you have a choice of whether or not you're going to feel fear. The key is what you do after that fact. The idea of a man crying making him weak is not true. To cry does not make you weak, okay? To feel the emotion that would lead you to tears does not make you weak. Expressing that emotion in the form of actually crying can make you weak. I know it's not a palatable thing that I'm saying. I know that you don't want to believe this, that it seems like that toxic masculinity that everyone's talking about, but it's just not true. Men are supposed to be strong, that you are supposed to be in control to master your emotion. It doesn't mean that you don't feel it. I've been moved to tears in my life for sure, but as a man, you have to decide that you're going to be stronger, you're going to rise above it. Even though you feel like crying, you don't always do what you feel like. A person that is completely ruled by their emotions is unstable in every way. You cannot trust that person. They're going to completely base their actions and behavior based on how they feel at that given time. As far as dealing with emotions, you're going to have emotions. You're going to feel sadness. You're going to feel sorrow. You're going to feel anger. Okay, you're going to feel fear. That's where you need to sack up. And you need to decide that even though you feel this way, it doesn't influence your actions. As a man, we act from principles. Okay, this is very much rooted into Stoic philosophy, because Stoic philosophy is really important. It is very synonymous with masculinity. But as a man, what you must do is not stuff those emotions down. Okay, that's repressing. It's not about suppressing. There was a period of my life where I was very fearful, where I was afraid to fly in airplanes. I'm being vulnerable with you. I'm telling you something that is not something that I'm super proud of. I'm not putting up a front here. I'm letting you in to see that, yes, I am an imperfect human being, but I had fear. Okay, I was afraid to fly in airplanes. I was afraid to go on roller coasters. I had many fears. And what I would do with that fear is I would repress it, trying to ignore it, trying to make it just go away, putting my headphones on and trying to zone out so that I can't feel that fear. It increased the fear. It made me more fearful. It made me weak. You could do the same thing with anger. You could be angry, okay, and someone could make you angry, and you could repress that, and you could not feel that anger, not experience the emotion, and try to say, I'm not angry. But you know you're angry. I'm not angry. And what happens? It comes out passive aggressively. So on one hand, we've got the repression. Repression is no good. On the other hand, what you have is too much expression, is expressing the emotions, every emotion that comes to you, where you're trying to show people how sad you are. You're trying to show people how angry you are. You're trying to show people how upset you are, how they've hurt you. Okay, this is being butthurt. In the middle, where you should be, is experiencing the emotion. I experience a lot less negative emotions, very, very small amount, okay, to be honest with you. I used to experience a lot in my past. A lot of things would offend me that people would do to me, and I'd be upset, I'd be butthurt. Fuck, I don't know if you saw the video, but I just lost a couple $100,000 because some social justice warriors came after me. I'm not letting it affect me. But even from time to time, I do experience negative emotions. I do experience emotions, okay? I'm not immune. I am a human being, and I feel fear at times. I feel anger at times. I feel sadness at times. But I allow myself to experience those things internally. and I let them go. Viktor Frankl, he was in the Holocaust. He was in concentration camp. And he talks about how they couldn't take his dignity away from him. They couldn't take one thing from him. Okay, and this one thing was a very important thing, which was the ability for him between something that happened to him and the response, that gap in between, that space in between. And that's what I'm talking about here. Someone is going to hurt you. You're going to get angry. You're going to get rejected, but you have a choice. You can experience that emotion, okay, and you can accept it. Not try and block it, not try to repress it, not express it externally, but feel it. That's when you are really stepping into your manhood. That is when you are doing what you're supposed to do as a man. And when you do things in that way, you can be vulnerable. You can share your experience, okay? But it doesn't come out as weakness. If you want to be authentic, the key to it is to be in touch with your emotions in the sense that you feel them and you understand them and you process them and you see it happening, and then almost like a third-party observer, you observe what's happening. There's a person who experiences anger, and they are anger. They are angry. They feel that emotion and they become that emotion and they express it outwardly. And then there's a person who feels anger, who feels it in their body, who then steps above it and analyzes that and says, hey, right now I'm aware, I'm self-aware, I'm angry right now. I feel my anger inside of me. And that jump, that leap of consciousness, where you're the third-party observer, where you're observing yourself being angry, that makes all the difference in the world. Because when you can do that, you can let the anger go. If you want to be able to handle this seeming contradiction of being a man and having emotions, you have to understand that it is not appropriate, it's not right for you as a man to express those emotions. I used to get really upset in traffic, right? I used to sit in traffic. I used to be really angry, like someone would cut me off or just being in traffic. I started to realize the silliness of the situation, how ridiculous it was. I mean, who am I angry at, right? So we're in traffic. Is it the person in front of me's fault, right? Is there any reason why I should be angry right now? Now, again, I'm acknowledging that I'm angry, but I was able to look at it from a third-party perspective and say, hey, John, you're angry and you're being silly, man. Like, this is ridiculous. That's really the key of this, is to not fight, not resist, but to accept the emotions that you're experiencing, accept the feelings, accept the situation, the thing that's happened. When you dissolve that and you say, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. I don't have any right, I don't have any justification to be angry about a thing. It is what it is. When you really come to terms with that, you'll stop experiencing those negative emotions and you'll be in more control. Is it wrong for men to be vulnerable? Absolutely not. You should be vulnerable. Okay? Vulnerability is actually a strength. If I'm willing to reveal to you things that might be perceived as a weakness, but I don't see it as a weakness, right? Just like I talked about being afraid to go on airplane, then it's vulnerability, but it's strength. And so yes, a man can be vulnerable. What you don't want is repression of emotions, and you don't want expression of emotions. What you want to do is you want to experience and let go and make analytical decisions. That is emotional mastery. That's when you've mastered your emotions. You think about the guys that were fighting in World War II or any major conflict, okay, in the trenches. I mean, imagine, you're seeing people blowing up, being shot, being killed, blood, gore, all of this stuff. And you're still marching on, right? You're feeling fear. I mean, how many emotions are going through this person at this time? If you could put yourself in that place. But the test of your masculinity, the test of being a man, is to be able to hold on to that, to experience that, but to move on, to press through, and to come out and still go and do your mission and still risk your life and fight. And that's what we're called to do. I know that it's not something necessarily that you want to hear, but it's the truth. And sometimes the truth is difficult. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.